Hello everyone and welcome to IMRT Reviews. I'm RT and today we're going to be doing a non-spoiler review of Fear Street Part 2 1978, the second part of the new slasher film trilogy on Netflix. So let's get straight into it. So Fear Street Part 2 is directed by Leigh Janiak, and she actually directs the entire trilogy, which I looked up before this video, and it stars a young cast once again, and the star of the film is Sadie Sink from Stranger Things, and she plays a young Ziggy Vernon. The film continues where part 1 ends, with Dina and her brother taking Sam to Vermon's house, and Vernon tells the story of her experience with the witch. This film takes a little bit more time to get into the action than part 1, because part 1 you were just straight into the slasher killing, but this doesn't fault the movie at all, it actually improves it. And we get to spend some time with the main characters, setting up their backstories, their relationships, and we get to care about them a lot more than the characters in part 1, and that greatly improves the movie. And an even bigger time saver, there was less cringy rivalry. I mean, there was still some town rivalry in there, which was a little bit cringe, but it was less than part 1, which I did greatly appreciate. The film succeeds where part 1 failed, but it also fails where part 1 succeeded, and that is with the tension. There is not as much tension in this movie because the main characters, Good, Vernon, we already know what's going to happen to them. So when they're in danger and everything like that, we're like, okay, we know they're going to survive. So that just completely destroys a lot of the tension for me personally in this movie. And the characters that do die, we don't spend enough time with to actually care about. Now, I know with slasher movies, there's always going to be characters that are just fodder to die for the killers, you know, get some cool kills in and whatnot, and that's fine. But when we pretty much know all the main characters' destinies, there's no tension in those scenes, and I don't care when they're apparently in danger because they're just not really, are they? And I'm not saying there are no scenes that put you on the edge of your seat, but there are minimal scenes that do so because, like I say, we already know what's happening to our main characters, and even though the scenes with the character fodder dying are a little bit more intense and not as tense as it would be if we knew our main characters were in danger. But now onto the positive, which is the killer. And the killer, once again in these movies, feels ruthless and unstoppable, and the killer just destroys everything in their path. And even though some of the kills are very brutal, some more creative kills would have been appreciated, as they are the ones you remember. But I must say, the killer in this movie is a force to be reckoned with, and there are a few good kills in this one. And the director does a really good job of showing the aftermath of the kills that you can't see, because that would have been a little bit too dark, and it kind of alludes to what happened instead of showing us, and I'm a big fan of that because sometimes less is more. So Leigh Janiak, the director, done a very, very good job there. Once again, the soundtrack was really, really good, and Leigh Janiak, the director, done a very good job of making this film feel very different from part 1, which I must give props for, because it would have been very easy for her to just copy and paste part 1 and just do the same thing again, and it probably would have still got a lot of fans, as part 1 was pretty good. But she didn't do that. She made a different movie, and I've got to give props to that. There were a few times where the special effects didn't look great, and I think if they had used practical effects, which is something that, you know, horror movie fanatics are a fan of, you know, practical gore and stuff like that, it would have been a lot more real, impactful, and horrifying, as the stuff on screen didn't look that real to me, so it was less scary. But with practical effects, it could have really hit home the scary nature of what we were seeing on screen. Overall, I think Fear Street Part 2 in 1978 is a fun time. It didn't wow me, it didn't blow my socks off, but it was a fun time for the runtime of this movie, and I was thoroughly entertained. So I do recommend to any horror movie, slasher movie fans out there to check this one out, and I am extremely excited to see Part 3, because I think it could be the best one. From the vibes of the killer and stuff like that, it does sound very scary to me. So let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Part 2 of Fear Street, and if you did enjoy this content and want to see more, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.